Computer, movie mode. Welcome everybody to the Future Space Collective, where we explore the world of products for imagination. Today we're covering the two most popular 4K lifestyle video projectors, the XGIMI Horizon Pro 4K. And the Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K. So these are considered lifestyle projectors. What is a lifestyle projector? So unlike traditional projectors, which aim to be ceiling mounted and connected to a home theater for their audio and source video, lifestyle projectors, on the other hand, are an all-in-one solution for any context. Not only can you use them as a more traditional projector in a long-term setup, but you can also use them, set them up within minutes, break them down. They're designed with portability in mind. Along with this, they have all of your smart functionality and apps built right in, also come with some built-in quality speakers, meaning you can essentially just power on these things, connect to Wi-Fi, and start streaming all of your favorite content. As well as that, they also have a very nice aesthetic, meaning they're built to look pretty. They're usually more durable. Throw it on a table or hook it up to a tripod. Portable cinema experience. Bring it camping, cottaging, road tripping. Use it for work, parties, karaoke, photo shoots. The possibilities really become endless. So I've had both of these projectors for just about a month now. I've watched every comparison video, learned as much as I could, and done all of the testing myself to bring you guys actual practicality, functionality, and results that I got while using these two projectors. If you are looking to purchase one of these two projectors, I ask you to use and click those deal links in the description below to make sure you're getting the best price. And it also goes a long way to help in supporting this channel as well. Okay, so starting off right here, this is the Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K projector. It has a very, very nice body design. As you can see, it uses a laser lamp projection source versus the XGIMI Horizon Pro, which also has a very nice body design. It uses an LED projection light source. This one has a kind of matte finish, although I do find it does leave some fingerprints. And this one, I really love the design and finish of this one with this kind of like grid body design with these holes that go to smaller holes. And in terms of power, the XGIMI Horizon Pro has this big honkin' power brick, whereas the Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K has its power supply internally, meaning we can just connect the cable. To me, that's preferred. So this is what the remote design is looking like for the Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K. I like that it has shortcut buttons to some of the apps there. Pretty simple remote design. That's what the back looks like. Takes two AAA batteries. This is what the remote design for the XGIMI Horizon Pro is looking like. I like the thin profile of it, a nice silver finish, a bit more futuristic, one could say, especially check this out. Got a little button there where you can pop in AAA batteries, not included. In terms of the I/O, the input-output, that is the ports. On the Nebula Cosmos, we have simply the power input, an HDMI input, a USB, and a 3.5mm audio jack. You can plug headphones in or an external stereo source. Okay, in terms of the physical buttons on the body here, they are touch buttons. They're kind of hard to see, but when you plug in the power, these buttons do indeed light up. If you touch it, we basically have navigation buttons here, settings, volume, source, and a power button. You can see the sensors on the front of the body there. whereas the XGIMI Horizon Pro 4K is fully loaded, starting with the power there. We then have a digital optical audio out, 2 USB ports, 2 HDMI ports, as well as a hardwired Ethernet port, 3.5mm audio jack, power button, volume control, and a play button. These are also touch buttons. Power button is tactile clicky button. Front of the projector is where the sensors are for the autofocus, auto keystone, stuff like that. So yes, the XGIMI wins here in terms of I/O ports, connectability. But honestly, to me, the appeal of a lifestyle projector is that you don't really have to plug anything into it. All you really need, to me, is that one HDMI in, which the Nebula does have. The reason you want a digital optical audio out is to carry that, surround sound signal to your surround sound receiver. And assuming you have a surround sound receiver, then you probably already have all of your components connected to that. And really, you could just run an HDMI cable out from your receiver and into the projector, which you could also do with this. So using the method I just told you, you could totally still use both of these. So in terms of smart functionality, they both have Android TV built in. So the Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K has it kind of like externally. I actually plugged that in and it fits right there. I see that as a huge advantage because you can upgrade it if it were to break. Let's say, again, this cover just pops on and it's like it's built in natively. Whereas with the XGIMI, that Android TV is already built in. There is no little box or brain that you connect. So I think that's an advantage here. In terms of apps and smart functionality, the XGIMI does not have Netflix natively certified on the Android TV, whereas the Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K does indeed have Netflix natively certified. For me, this kind of is a deal breaker with the XGIMI, as I personally don't plan to plug any external devices into the unit. Okay, but let's get into the nitty-gritty now and what probably everybody is waiting to see, how these projectors actually perform from a functional, practical standpoint. How do the images look compared against each other, brightness tests, and all that good stuff. So let's jump right in.
Alrighty, so here is the setup now for testing both of the projectors. We are starting with the Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K projector, as you see it here on the tripod. It is about 3.5 feet off the ground and about 11 feet from the projection screen here, which is a 120-inch projection screen, whereas the XGIMI Horizon Pro I found sits 1 foot closer at 10 feet away to fill that 120-inch projector screen. So both projectors are set up as close as I can get them to not requiring any Keystone to try and get the absolute best result from this. That is, without any tilt. And you can see the camera is situated just above the projector. The camera settings will remain locked and consistent throughout every single one of the tests conducted on both of the projectors. And so the last thing to do now is shut down all the lights here in the studio to get the best possible viewing experience. In terms of the brightness, what I did was I filmed both with a pure white screen to see which was brighter. As advertised, the Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K is the brighter overall projector. It does put out more light, and you can see this from the technical chart, the waveform monitor on screen. That white line is higher reaching on the chart, averaging around 90 to 95 IRE, whereas the XGIMI Horizon Pro is averaging around 70 to 75 IRE on our waveform monitors that you can see. So this one's pretty clear cut. The Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K is the brighter projector. That means you can use it in brighter environments. This is something that a lot of people look for as one of the top tier things. How bright is the projector? All right, so let's jump in now to the nitty gritty, the thing that I think most people are concerned about putting the most weight into when purchasing a projector. The image quality. You know, if you don't have anything else to compare your projector to, it doesn't really matter which one you go with. Both have great images at the end of the day. It really comes down to personal preference. It's only really when we have a second image to compare to is when we can see how either projector may have an edge depending on the scene. So I guess you could say if I had to choose, I would say my preference is towards the Nebula, and I do think it does have a better overall image. However, it does depend on the scene. The Nebula 4K with its laser-powered projection is a punchier image. It's more vibrant, it's more saturated, it's more contrasty. It has darker blacks, it's a brighter overall picture. The colors look great and arguably better to me, although the color perception and what you might like better is of course subjective. I do find that the Nebula is a tad oversaturated when it comes to the reds specifically, whereas the XGIMI has a flatter overall picture profile, with some scenes having more accurate color rendering, particularly in the red shades, as well as a touch more shadow detail. Like I mentioned in the beginning, the bottom line is if you pick up one of these projectors with nothing to compare it to, it'll look great, but it's only when we have that second image to compare to where we can really see how either projector may have the edge depending on the scene. Okay, so first off, let's take a look here at the Avatar trailer, the IMAX trailer that is in 4K. I do think that the Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K is coming out on top with these specific scenes. Again, it is punchier, it is brighter, and it really does a good job, in my opinion, with the blues. And of course, in this trailer, it is very heavy on those blues. So you can see how really in the sky, you're seeing how the Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K is definitely a lot punchier as opposed to the XGIMI Horizon 4K. Although, you know, because it's more contrast, we are losing a little bit of the shadow detail. But again, this is why I say it depends on the scene itself, because as we can see here, we're actually getting more shadow detail in the Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K as opposed to the XGIMI Horizon Pro 4K. But of course, this isn't the case with everything. Okay, so if we just freeze frame here on this owl, this is a really great comparison of the two projectors. I just find in this particular example, I really prefer the image on the left, the Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K. It just pops off the screen as compared to the Horizon Pro. It definitely has that punchiness to it. Let's keep going and find some other good shots here. Again, here we can see with the lion, the color differences. We can see how the Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K, I do find, like I said, the reds tend to be a little bit more towards the orangish hue as compared to the Horizon 4K. It's very important to note when I say as compared, because if you look at the image on its own and you don't have any other screens to compare to, I tell you, you're not gonna really be able to notice this. It's only when we have something to compare to where we see, oh, you know what? It is leaning a little bit more towards the orange side and vice versa. So this is a sports demo here to really test out on both projectors of a soccer match. Again, that punchy nature really comes through for me on the Cosmos Laser 4K. I think it's definitely preferable. Should be worth noting that I personally take off all motion compensation and motion smoothing. I don't like when TVs or projectors kind of manipulate the motion. Okay, so moving into this Triluminous demo here, this is a really great demo that goes through different scenes of red, green, and blue. Again, here we can see the color differences in red. I see that difference is most exemplified here in this strawberry scene where we can see the Cosmos Laser 4K is leaning a bit more towards that orangey red, whereas Horizon Pro K is a more accurate looking red. But I tell you, they both look amazing in person. Like in person, the flower scene still looks really good. Here are the greens. The greens are leaning a bit more towards the bluish hue on the Horizon Pro 4K. And on the Nebula, the greens are leaning a bit more towards that yellow. Now we're taking a look at the blues. So when it comes to shots with blue, especially like this overlaying shot, I really prefer the Cosmos Laser 4K for any scenes with blues in them. I think the punchier, brighter nature of the projector really makes those blues pop. And you can even see in the water, it's probably just because the projector's brighter, but it's in a shot like this, the Cosmos Laser 4K would appear to have more dynamic range. But again, I've taken a look at a lot of different scenes and it's not always the case. Sometimes there will be scenes where the Horizon Pro 4K does have more dynamic range. So this is a really great shot of all the t-shirts. Both have great images, both are very vivid, but it's a great tell of how each projector displays its colors. Again, you know, when it comes to the purples and the blues, I'm really liking what the Cosmos Laser 4K is doing, and the pinks and the oranges. But again, the red is just a little bit more towards the orange hue on the Cosmos Laser 4K. Okay, and so the last thing I took a look at is I threw on the latest Bond film to see the color differences. Because of the frame rate, it does, you know, stutter a little bit. This is not noticeable in person. But this is really interesting here, you know, especially these two shots. Now, it would seem that the Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K, much punchier image, much more vibrant image. Yes, it is a little bit leaning towards that yellow, but if we pause here on Bond's face, I just think that the Cosmos Laser 4K, it's just, there's more color in his face and it's more vibrant. And to me, it looks better. It looks more cinematic. Again, comes down to personal choice, personal preference. I mean, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. You know, some could argue that the Horizon Pro is more accurate with the colors, but that Cosmos Laser 4K just has something to it when you see it in real life. It just jumps off the screen to me with that punchy image. On this low angle shot here, we can see a lot of contrast in those clouds where they start and stop, whereas in the XGIMI Horizon Pro, we're not really getting much of that. It's a flatter picture like I have been mentioning. And there's the big boom shot. So again, all of these shots were taken with the exact same camera settings and the same lighting. You can tell that they're all the same because of the lighting at the bottom. That's the tell to know that the actual camera settings stayed the same because the light behind the screen stays consistent. And it is worth mentioning that these are the standard picture profiles booting up with the projector, that ship with the projector, both at max brightness. You can go in and tweak the color settings to your heart's contempt, which is to say, if you are an expert and you really want to try to tweak these color settings a little bit, they do have the option to do that if you think you can go in and do better. But overall, my personal preference is towards the Cosmos Laser 4K, as in the variety of scenes that I tested, that's where my preference was leaning. Of course, sometimes I like the picture of the Horizon Pro better. Again, it comes down to the scene and it comes down to your, you know, personal subjective opinion. They are both great images in the dark. You're not gonna really be thinking about this or noticing this unless you have two screens side by side. So don't get too caught up in it. They both produce a very nice image. So when it comes to Keystone and autofocus, I did find that both of these projectors do it and do it quite well. I will say that the XGIMI does seem to do it a little faster and more reliably more of the time than the Nebula Cosmos. But listen, they both do it and they both do a fine job. And you're really only going to use this feature if you're taking it on the road and you're pointing it at a wall. Because if you are pointing it at a projector screen like I am, I will tell you that it's not going to match the edges perfectly. So you're gonna have to use manual Keystone and manual focus anyways. So to me, not really a make or break thing either way. It's cool that they both have it. I still am going to set things manually to get it absolutely perfect, because after all, you've spent all this money on a projector. Why not spend that extra 45 seconds or so to get everything aligned absolutely perfectly?
We're going to take a quick look at the experience functionality of both of the projectors, give you a quick walkthrough of the menus and such. First off, we have our Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K. Let's boot it up. We are now timing it. Okay, so we are registering 46 seconds boot time from a complete power off. As you can see, if we go into Netflix, it is natively supported and it does run Netflix, no problem. Now, if you want to get into the actual projector settings menu, you can do so by hitting the input button on the top right of the remote. So we're gonna hit that. So it's got picture where you can find different picture profiles if you want to try out. I've set a custom picture profile. Tests were done in the standard mode. So this is the custom picture profile menu. You can set a custom color temperature. You can adjust the gamma. This is the image correction sub-menu. One-click focus and keystone correction. I have it right now all set to manual options, but here are all the options to adjust that. If you did want to, manually adjust the focus, you can do so by bringing up this menu. Also has a zoom if you want to make the picture smaller or larger. That's really helpful if the projector is far set back and you need to fill the screen and it's too big for the screen, so you can kind of zoom out a bit. Bluetooth speaker mode, the projector light was shut off, press back to quit this mode. They do also have a mobile app that they offer to control the projector as well, which is a pretty handy little feature. In the advanced settings, we can change the projector mode, such as if we are, doing rear projection or mounting it to a ceiling or flipping it upside down, calibrate it. Anyways, these are all the options you have in the advanced settings. In terms of Android TV, very impressed with how smoothly and flawlessly it all runs and all the apps run. Okay, so we have the XGIMI here now, and there we are at 43 seconds. It's just running the autofocus. So roughly the same amount of time. Both projectors have that vertical and horizontal correction. That's looking pretty good. So these are basically the main settings we have with the XGIMI here. Keystone. Under image mode, it has its preset picture profiles as well. Under the custom option here, we can adjust stuff like brightness, contrast, saturation, sharpness, the noise reduction, color temperature. It even does have a motion compensation mode, which I personally keep off. I don't really like those motion compensation modes on TV. I find they affect the natural motion of like cinema and how movies are meant to be seen. Of course, you might prefer this, and if you're watching sports or stuff like that, you can experiment with this on or off. But those are the advanced settings for the picture profiles. Again, we have some sound profiles you can put. I guess volume balance is kind of like a compressor, and for those who don't really know audio terms, it tries to even out those spikes in volume change, so that's a pretty cool little feature. We can change where the sound output is coming from. Now, there is no Netflix natively built in, like I've mentioned. There are workarounds that you can try to kind of use third-party apps to load Netflix. From my experience, these aren't as stable and they don't work as well, and sometimes they don't work at all. I will try to install one right now for you. Desktop Manager. Okay, so through Desktop Manager, we are able to install Netflix. Let's see how well it works. So let's try the regular Netflix app. Okay, so we're in Netflix now, installed through Desktop Manager. Let's go ahead and just play a random movie here. It does seem to be a bit pixelated. I don't know if we're getting that 4K video feed. It doesn't appear to be so. Okay, so I can confirm this is working with sound. However, the caveat, it works slower and you're not getting 4K. Like, this is definitely not 4K. In fact, this looks super low resolution. I suspect, again, because you're running it through a third-party software, it just doesn't look good. It looks standard definition at best. It's a deal breaker. I don't know why, you buy this 4K projector, you don't want to watch low-res content on it, right? Otherwise, everything else works pretty well on this. Okay, so next thing I'm gonna try, I'm gonna take my laptop, plug it into the projector, just test it, make sure it works. All right, so we're plugging in my laptop through an HDMI cable into the projector, just to do a really quick test, see how it renders text and the like. Okay, laptop is in, running at 4K.
Okay, so it was at this time where my microphone battery had died on me, but I just wanted to show you guys very quickly my rough results here of both plugging the laptop into both projectors and throwing up a text-generated PDF to see how it looks. So neither of them look that bad in real life. The camera's not picking up the quality as well as it should be in this particular test. I didn't put as much time into it as the main image control test, but you can see that the contrast of the Nebula Cosmos does provide a little bit of a sharper text overall. I did find my results to be better with the Nebula versus the XGIMI when it came to just simply looking at text on the screen over an HDMI cable from my laptop. All right, time to conduct the sound tests. The Nebula Cosmos Laser 4K sound test. I am rolling the mic and it is currently playing a YouTube video on mute. First test we're doing here is just to get the ambient fan noise level. They're both super quiet, barely audible. It's really not a problem on either projector. Pretty negligible either way. Pretty great how quiet they both are. In terms of the actual sound, music quality, they have pretty good sound on both projectors. The Nebula having a boomier, fuller sound, the XGIMI with its Harman Kardon speakers having really clean and crisp highs.
Okay, so at the end of the day, they're both pretty great projectors, and I think you'd be happy with either purchase. However, the Nebula for me is the better projector overall, in my personal opinion. It's brighter, it has a higher quality, more physical build to it, and the built-in Google TV is Netflix certified. It's got a really snazzy carrying handle as well, and it just has that overall pop to the image that I personally like. In terms of room for improvement, I think the colors could be a bit more accurate when comparing it to more color correct sources, such as some of the scenes that we did take a look at in the XGIMI did have better reds, for example. But overall, I really think it's a great buy, and you're not gonna really notice any of these slight colors being off if you don't have anything that you're comparing the image with. The XGIMI, on the other hand, is still a great option, and perhaps even the better option if you do plan to use this as a part of a permanent setup or long-term setup. It's smaller and lighter in size and does have a lot more of that I/O, input-output ports on the back. But in conclusion, either will do the job for most use case scenarios, and it's really gonna come down to your specific needs, preferences, and priorities, and what you look for in a lifestyle type projector. Hopefully this video today showed you everything you need to know in terms of helping you make that decision and what's important to you. I urge you to click those deal links we have below in the description if you are considering purchasing either of these projectors. As of the time of filming right now, they are both around the exact same price. The Nebula Laser 4K projector has been a little bit more expensive in the past. However, now I'm seeing the price is around the same. In fact, I think right now this one's actually cheaper. But of course, prices, fluctuate. Please hit those links in the description. They do help to support the channel. This is the Future Space Collective, where we explore the world of products for imagination.